Is it worth shooting SLOG3? Now, this is a question I've been asking myself for the past couple of years, because when I got into videography about 2.5 years ago, I actually came from a photography background. So for the most part, I was shooting raw, editing the photos, and I got presets that I kind of use as a template, and then I tweak as and when for each specific image and look. When it came to videography, it's a different workflow and it's a different mindset. There's more things you've got to take into consideration, that when you're shooting an S-Log, you have to be shooting at a higher ISO. I wasn't used to color grading S-Log footage, so there would have been a whole new workflow for me on that reason as well. And with the fact that I kind of got into videography about 2.5 years ago, I was so focused on other things like storytelling, transitions, any effects and those types of things that I felt were more important at the time. But more recently, I've been looking at other people's videography work, and I actually been kind of wanting to get into that sort of color tone. There's an aesthetic that some people are grading with, and I just really kind of want to start elevating my work into that style. So recently I have tried to sort of experiment a little bit of S-Log, and I kind of just wanted to see for myself now and do this test whether I think it's worth shooting with long term. There's going to be a time and a place for it, I'm sure. But because a lot of the work that I do is like an event work for social media, a lot of it is, unfortunately, just say it in this way, but it's quite disposable. Once the event is done and gone, people move on to the next event, and that previous video that I edited is kind of forgotten about. But I am starting to move into a direction where I'm actually doing more work, which is actually going to be more evergreen. And that being said, I'm wondering if shooting an S-Log is actually going to be more beneficial long-term for quality reasons. Right now, for my reference, I'm shooting on the A7C II. It's coming up as +2 on the exposure at ISO 800, auto white balance, and at 1/50th of a second shooting at 4K 25p. And this is SLOG3 footage, just simply doing a Rec 709 conversion. I do have an ND filter on here. It's a KNF variable ND with black mist on it. And right now it's set to about 2 dots away from maximum ND. I'm now going to switch over to standard picture profile and continue the video from there. Now all my shooting settings are the same, except now I'm on standard picture profile. And looking at the back of the screen at least, I can tell that my skin is actually a little bit overexposed. So I'm just going to sort of change the ND on this. And here is where I would say is more correct exposure for not blowing out my skin. But now the exposure meter is around 1.7. So if I'm going to be shooting on Rec 709 standard color, is it really worth me shooting an S-Log? I hear all the time in reviews when they start talking about the roll off between the highlights and shadows. I don't know if I'm going to tell the difference. So the reason why I'm doing this video is just mostly for my benefit, to see if I can tell the difference. And then there's also just some sample footage for you to see as well. I unfortunately do have the light changing around a little bit, got the window light coming through. So it's just, I think a cloud must have just passed over, hence why it's just gotten suddenly all much darker. But overall, you tell me down below if you think it's worth color grading and shooting an S-Log. Is it mandatory, or is it only needed if you're shooting a stylistic look? Otherwise, that's it from me. Just watching.